So let's start with number 5, Washington, taking on the Oregon State Beavers. This will be in Corvallis. It's going to be Saturday, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Washington clinches a spot in the Pac-12 title game with a win or an Arizona loss. The Huskies are 10-0 to start the season for the second time in program history. The other time was in 91 when they finished the season 12-0 and split the national title with the Miami Hurricanes. And they opened the season by destroying everybody. Now, they've still been undefeated, but 5 of their last 6 games have come by just single digits, the lone exception being their 10-point win against the Trojans. So last week, in case you missed the breakdowns earlier in the week, the defense was what's really stepped up. And now I think it's going to be an increased challenge for them to corral DJ Uiagalelei and a really good run game for Oregon State. Oregon State's been in every game this year. They lost 2 games. Both were on the road and both were by 3 points. But they've really put together a really nice run under Jonathan Smith in recent years. The first question in this game, will Washington be able to stop the run? That's the biggest question. I mean, the Huskies defense, they've struggled to stop the run against pretty much every team that had a decent run game. And the Beavers might be the best one they've seen up to this point, considering what Damian Martinez has done. And it's really a 2-headed monster, and you could almost make it a 3-headed monster, knowing that DJ Uiagalelei is kind of showcasing the ability to keep you honest with the quarterback run game too. Damian Martinez is the bell cow. He's flanked by Deshaun Fenwick. Both guys average a ridiculous number. You look at Martinez, he's like 6.6 yards per carry. And then Deshaun Fenwick's at just under 6. And then DJ Uiagalelei, like I referenced, he's in the mix as well. So the group as a whole, they're 9th in college football in yards per carry, averaging about 5.5 or so. Of course, that factors in sacks, and there weren't many of those, but still 5.5 or so on the ground on the play-by-play basis. Washington, on the other hand, they're 84th in college football against the run, 4.4 yards per carry. The other thing that's crazy about these backs that Oregon State will trot out there, they're 4th in college football in yards after contact. They average 3+ yards after contact per carry. Washington is 83rd. So they're not great at the second level or third level when it comes to dropping a guy upon initial contact. So that is going to be a significant question mark for Washington. Will they be able to stop the run? Well, even if they can, guess what? Here comes the play action for Oregon State. DJ Uiagalelei at Clemson is a very different guy than he is right now. So far on throws that are traveling 20+ yards downfield, big plays, shot plays. He's 24 of 49. That's near 50%. That's among the top numbers in all of college football, especially considering how many attempts he has. A lot of the guys that have big percentage numbers and slight advantages as far as completion percentage, they have fewer attempts. So he's taken a bunch of shots, and he's been very effective on those. 10-1 on touchdown to interceptions off of play action this year as well. And that interception came way back in week 3 against San Diego State. And I think the receiver core, for the most part, for Oregon State is very underrated. Anthony Gold's a solid option. Silas Bolden is very solid. The tight end Jack Veiling leads the receivers with touchdowns. He only has 27 catches, but he's got 8 touchdowns. So they're going to get him involved there in the red zone as well. And DJ's been really smart. Will it continue? This might be the biggest platform he's played on this year, and there's going to be a lot of eyeballs. And there were times at Clemson where the pressure kind of melted around on DJ, and he didn't always rise to the occasion, which ultimately led Clemson in going into a different direction. Well, this year he's been excellent. 20-4 touchdown interception ratio, and the 47 explosive pass plays this year is tied for 6th in college football amongst quarterbacks that have qualified. So he's playing at a really high level and deserves to be commended for resurrecting his career under Jonathan Smith and company. Very impressed by them. The other side of the coin is Oregon State's defense. Can they cover Washington? We all know what Washington has as far as their weapons are concerned. Rome Odunze, 3rd in the country. Jalen Polk, 11th in the country in total yardage. Guys are unbelievable. And then we all know just how good Michael Penix is too. He's excellent. And I honestly, if I look at Oregon State, while their coverage numbers aren't bad, I think there's opportunities. If you watch the first half against Washington State, Maybe that was the worst performance, so maybe we saw them on their lowest point. They were having a tough time on throws that were accurately placed down the field. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to cover these guys. I think it's going to be a real tall task, even though, like I said, as far as opposing quarterback rating and all those numbers, they actually are relatively favorable. But one thing they can do to make life a little difficult, if they can't cover them, they can at least attack, because this group defensively in the front for Oregon State, they're very stout as far as getting after the quarterback. 36 sacks registered this season. That's 5th in college football. Michael Penix is going to have to play great. I think he will, and I think it will be an excellent game. It will be decided in the red zone. I think both defenses are going to struggle in this game. I think they're really going to struggle in this game. We know what Washington is offensively. We know that they can light up the scoreboard. How many times this year have we seen them just look like it's a video game? But Oregon State is no slouch. They're 3rd in the FBS in red zone touchdown percentage. They scored touchdowns on 81% of their red zone penetrations. And Washington is struggling there in the red zone defensively. They're 113th. So that is, I think, what's going to decide the game. You cannot beat Washington by kicking field goals. But if Oregon State can stay efficient on the ground and control the line of scrimmage, they have a real chance to pull off the upset. Even though it's not an upset in Vegas. Right now, as of this moment, Oregon State's slightly favored. I'm taking the Beavers. I think they match up really well against Washington. You know I love Washington. I think it'll be a very high-scoring affair, but I'm leaning in favor of Oregon State. They're very, very tough to play at home, and I feel like Washington's been playing with fire for a couple weeks. They get got. Like we talked about on Wednesday's show, I really don't know if it's going to have a huge impact on where Washington ends up in the rankings on Tuesday. Even if they lose this one, I think they're still probably going to be 5th, because you're really going to allow Oregon with a comparable resume to jump Washington when Washington has the head-to-head. I don't think they will. So even if they lose, I'm not sure it makes a huge difference. It just obviously puts an extra amount of pressure to get to the Pac-12 title game with their game in the Apple Cup against Washington State.